High-grade Build Gundam Mk-II. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and I can't believe that the Build Strike is already being retired as the first lead Gundam from the newest anime series, Gundam Build Fighters, and carrying on in the tradition of the RX-78-2, which became the Mk-II, so sort of forget the whole strike aspect for the moment. It's time for Iori to go and build his own Gundam Mk-II, so let's find out exactly what's going to be different about this pretty sharp-looking kit. November 2013 release, time to coincide with its appearance in the anime. 1,800 yen, the price from Bandai, and there's the name in English and Japanese with some pretty sharp-looking cover art. You'll notice that they don't give the MS number here, but in the high-grade BF series, it's number 4. And a new show means lots of new models, and you can get them all from the good folks at HobbyLink Japan, and there's links directly below. Like Kira Yamato, Reiji started out by piloting the Strike here, in this case the Build Strike modified by Iori. But actually in the anime, if you want to go back old school, in the mid-80s, we got to see Zeta Gundam come out. Amuro only flew the original RX-78-2 before Camille became the pilot of the Mk-II after they painted it up in its proper colors. This original 1/144th non-grade, of course, April 1985 for 500 yen. And it's had every grade you can imagine in between, but it's the HGUC that's of most interest to us. You can see the Titans coming out there in 2002, and then you get the Super Gundam, which is very familiar to what you're about to see in November of the same year, and you can see that that's going to be up there 2,100 with tax, and we've seen it in a couple other different sets over the years, including over there with its flying armor, or frying if you want to put it that way, 2005. But as you pick it up off the shelf, the first thing you're going to notice is this is actually looking pretty cool. So the minute we go inside, we'll get to see actually what's been changed from this over a decade old kit. But you can see that it's going to be most of the focus being the big guns on the forearms, massive thrusters there on the backpack, and you can see some nice blue add-ons with a different V-fin and chest, it looks like. Can't wait to see how much of this is plastic and how much of it is done in seals, but overall the effect is looking quite 2013-ish. And don't forget to check out my anime reviews if you haven't already for Gundam Build Fighters, and if you like the show and you like the idea of building your own Gunpla and often battling in an imaginary world, you can see the appeal of that. Here's the actual model number, and you can see 18.5 meters, so smack dab in the middle of the regular height range for a lead. But on to the gimmicks themselves, you can see that the action poses, when you put those big guns in there, it's actually going to be looking pretty impressive, and that modified chest and head is, of course, where I'm going to be mostly focused on. But you already got to see the Super Gundam come out, and here we're going to be getting the Build Booster. We already had the Mk-I, which attached itself onto the Build Strike, but now we're going to go Super Gundam with some bigger guns, and you can see that it's going to come with a cockpit block, which we've seen before, and you can see the way the backpack is going to attach onto the back, and it looks like you can go aerial with this, which is a nice play feature. But if you want to talk weapons there, they're showing off the beam sabers, which doesn't necessarily inspire confidence in terms of what you can actually do with this kit, but it is sort of cool because if you take a look over here, you're getting all the original Gundam Mk-II weapons. That white bazooka I'm very wary of. We've seen those be gray far too many times in the past. The beam sabers though are looking good, and here you can see those blue parts with yellow little details on the side. Are those going to be plastic? And that the guns are going to be detachable, very double bulletish from Gundam age. And there you can see that the beam rifles, if you put them in hand, are going to be looking good, or if you throw them over the shoulders. As you can see from this picture here where he is loaded soup to nuts, you can see he's going underarm over there, over the shoulder. He's got the bazooka hidden in there with the inherent high-grade bazooka problems always there. The beam shield, or the shield is there. He's also going to have the extra ammo packs. That would be fun. And of course, the whole idea of the build boosters and things like that is that you're supposed to take the weapons and swap them off and put them on different kits. And of course, buy all our playsets and toys. As you can see, Amuro, Camille in his second lead, and the much less famous Jim still packing more punch than they usually would. So it's inside the box we go, where you're going to be treated to gray. Less than exciting there, but you can see some gray and some nice blue, and then you're going to see much more familiar as we get to see some of the tricolor seal sheet, not as big as you might anticipate, but 4 colors on there with the familiar slightly gray that you're going to get for this still heroic kit. And there it is, the manual with that sharp-looking cover art again. It's still a treat to be greeted by 4 colors on the A-plate, as you're going to get the most familiar ones, as it is just going to be an ABC for the main part of the body here. You can see the red parts are going to be for the cockpit hatch and primarily there for the feet, with some other nice looking blue parts there for the backpack and for the shield and chest unit, with lots of yellow details, which is a plus for the Mark II. And you can also see some of that main gray over here. This, if somebody could help me out, I'd imagine may have been on the Titans. The first 3 plates show no signs of any modifications, and they all do say Gundam Mark II quite clearly, copyright 2002 on the back. And if you want to go back to 2002, yes, that's how old school beam sabers used to be. In hand, one color, white grip, white blade, looking pretty poor overall. However, that has been fixed with this one. This is sort of interesting, actually, because it was sort of a while later that we got to see the front and side split this way when they put the head together. But some nice looking details there and some deep channels if you want to get your ink in there. Same labeling on the C plate here, and a little bit disappointing. The beam rifle is going to be looking good, as are the parts needed for the actual grips and the backpack, and you can see all the joints there as Bandai was starting to develop some more intricate innards here for a high-grade kit. However, the disappointment, and this goes back to my first Zaku 2 in high grade, is that you're going to have these, well, more specifically for the Gundams themselves. But the bazookas, when they have their nice white on them in master grade or painted by a pro, always look so good. And when you've got just a cheap 2-piece of plastic like that, it's more likely than not just to end up in a Ziploc. But in this case, let's find out what alternatives we have, as they're going to be coming on the 2 new plates here labeled K1, and it's sort of interesting. 1/144th Build Booster Mark II. They don't even mention the Build Gundam as a lead. It seems like it may be getting a short shrift. How long will it be around here? But you can see that they can easily detach this, so they can actually put this in smaller boxes and sell your build boosters, so you can go do up the whole HGUC line. But they're also going to be throwing in some things there like extra hands, which are removable, and you can see that these plates are designed to go compact if needed. But otherwise, there are some cool looking details. The guns look simple, but they're in interesting shape, and you can see over there that the backpack parts should be a lot of fun, especially if you wanted to add a metallic sheen to them. Which is no knock against Emma, but here we are to the L plate. Some nice looking colors overall. I like this blue that we're getting. You can see the parts for the core fighter, as you shouldn't be calling it, looking sharp there. Everything that's going to be holding the weapons, and you can just see that these parts seem to have a little bit more detail carved into them than the old 2002s, which you would expect. But now here's the one that's going to be definitely unimpressive for me. You've seen with things even like the advanced grades for Gundam Age that they're willing to give you a small plate with special colors on there. But it looks like we've got the chest vents here for the cockpit hatch where that's going to be opening. And this should be done up in a nice yellow, and this should be done maybe blue or gray. However, it looks like all of the parts for the Gundam, they're detachable. So for the separate sold build booster, you're not going to be getting those. But if this was done up properly in yellow and these parts were done up properly in yellow, it would be a lot more fun. And it looks like we're going to have to be turning to the seals, unless you want to turn to your spray cans. As here's what they're giving you. Lots of green. That's always good because it means you've got lots of guns that all need scopes. The eyes looking good and traditional there. And it looks like you're going to have yellow parts that you add to those chest pieces to cover up the blue that they are there. But I think the most disappointing is anytime you see a seal like that, Bandai, you've just got to wonder, are you doing the right thing? This piece could have been printed in yellow and it would have cost, yeah, maybe 100 yen more or something like that. But if you had actually had some proper yellow on here, I think it would go a long way to making this sort of lead worthy. At the same time, the build strike, the white seals haven't bothered me as much over the last few weeks. So let's see how this actually works in practice. With the nuts and bolts being held in place by 1999's PC123 there, and Saber 13, so you don't have to go with the permanently in-hand gray. For a quick peek through the manual, still love that cover art there, and you can see it looking sharp. Right from the beginning they've been advertising, or haven't been hiding, the Build Gundam Mk-II as a lead. You can see the builder and the fighter, sort of a cool combination, and color splash pages on the inside. Lots of focus on the other things that you can do as they're going to be showing off the Super Gundam, the inspiration, of course, for this Mk-II. And you can see some other connecting weapons over there. I think that one's sort of out of scale in terms of proportion. They're also going to be talking about the core fighters or the cockpit blocks, which have been leading up to this one today. There's the painting color guide down there. The cockpit block should be some midnight blue, so you can see some darker colors are going to be attached on there. We've seen a lot of this around the actual box itself, and they're showing off the lineup. This one should be fun to build. The Zaku Amazing, better than I expected, with some nice looking poses. With the 1-point Lego technique here being instead of how to line things or paint them, instead they're telling you you can go and get some extra seals. And why not do that and put numbers, especially 178? Sounds familiar if you want to go put them on the shoulders. And Lego joke aside here, I do sort of like the fact that they're saying, hey, take the seals out of anything. Zaku Mariner? Why not? Put those on the Mk-II or a Gym 2, which seems much more fitting. When you go inside, you might be surprised because there's very few X's there on the A plate, as most everything is going to be used. K and L well designed over there, but when you're putting it all together and you see all those seals being attached onto the chest section and the head there, it's not particularly impressive. Of course, the build is going to be familiar to anybody who has seen this before, and this, though, should be a little bit more fun to put this variation of the Super onto this non-Mario brother. Overall, it's a pretty good unbox there, as it's sort of cool to see the quality of the design still going back to 2002. I've never built this high-grade Universal Century Mark II, so I'm excited to see how this stacks up. And the new plates do look well designed down there with some good details in there. Yellow V-fin, though, that would be nice to go along with, of course. Proper white striping on this guy, but there's not as many seals as there could have been, so I'm pretty hopeful. So everybody stick around to see the parts and, of course, the MS all put together, and you can see it in my anime reviews as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. Well, kid, you had a good run. What was it? 5, 6 episodes? Yeah, Turn A and I are laughing. Just don't mention the G3.